Welcome back. Time is short. Let's spend some with the Muse. Hi, how are you doing today? My name is Scot Noel, and this is my new YouTube channel, Moments with Aatherya, the muse of futurism, science fiction, fantasy, and creativity. You may have visited me on my other channel, the DreamForge Channel. If not, I encourage you to take a look over there. DreamForge Channel videos also take a look at a more positive future, but they tend to be more carefully scripted and include videos, music, and some decent editing. This channel is going to be as you find it, with virtually no editing or post-production. It serves two purposes. The first is to provide practice in working to a camera in a conversational style without a script. The second is to give me a platform to talk about virtually anything without any thematic foundation, except the idea that we're spending a few minutes with the Muse. We are, in fact, musing. And this includes writing and reading speculative fiction, science and cosmology, advances in technology and medicine, history, and more. Politics is an unlikely topic, as are any culture war hot points. You'll come to know my viewpoints in time, but without me trying to stir up your adrenaline. Who can make you angry controls you and can use you to their own purposes. So that's not my style. What's my background? Well, I'm a Writers of the Future winner, Volume 6, which I have here. That was in 1990. And I also have stories in Algis Budry's Tomorrow Magazine. Ta-da! 2 stories in 2 zombie anthologies from Eden Press. That's the Book of More Flesh and the Book of All Flesh, I believe. Small press venues like Pandora. Definitely some of my favorites. This little magazine was called Vision, and it was all robot stories, and I loved it. I love to write robot stories, and I got published a lot in that one. So those are some of the things I've written. Now, my main writing was I've written novellas and interaction text for a variety of computer games, as well as being a project manager of game development in the late 90s. I'll show you one of the first ones. This is actually still in a shrink wrap. This is Veil of Darkness. It was a vampire tale. I still get fan mail to this day from the novella that is in this game. This is my last project, Rights of War, in 1999, the last published project. I was still in computer games up until 2001, but this was the last project that I worked on, Warhammer Rights of War. I was project manager on that one. These days, I work with my wife Jane at our digital marketing agency, which is called Chroma Studios. And in my spare time, I have a blast as the editor and publisher of DreamForge Magazine. Let me show you a few of our issues here. We've been doing this now for 5 years. We have like 14 issues. They're illustrated, full color. You can see we do illustrations throughout. This is actually our latest one. It was our 5-year celebration. This is our largest issue ever at over 63,000 words. Hugo Award-winning illustrator Elizabeth Leggett did the cover for us. And we have a number of amazing stories in here, some by brand new artists, brand new writers. One of my favorites, To Catch a Foo Fighter by David Hankins. We published David's first short story in one of our issues. His first story was A Properly Spiced Gingerbread, I believe was the title of it. And he has since gone on to win Writers of the Future and to publish quite a number of stories and to write a novel, Death and the Taxman. Let's see here. So just show you, this is another Elizabeth Leggett cover, one of my favorites. That was actually during the COVID pandemic, and she just created the cover and I wrote a story for it. So we had a lot of fun doing that. Oh, I'm also one of the very few writers who have a certificate of recognition as a writer from their state senate. I'll tell you about that in another video. Now, you'll notice one of my big props here is an Underwood portable typewriter that still has a tag on it that says U.S. government property. and this was actually used in a munitions plant in Pittsburgh during World War II. It has a wonderful mechanical feel to it, as you can imagine, and it gives you the sense of actually building something with words, the way you might craft something out of metal and screws. Every morning I write a brief note about something happening that day, and I've been doing that since 2014, with a bound volume for every year. Take a moment here to commemorate this video. It's about, see how it jams? It's about 9 p.m. Yeah. And I started recording. Let's go back on a little now. Recording. Yeah. First video in the Moments with the Muse series. The Muse series. There, you can get a sense of how that works. Imagine basically writing that way and not having any way to, like originally, when I learned to type, you would take a pencil and you would actually try to erase things if you made a mistake, and then whiteout came along quite a bit later than that. But my good friend Jake actually rebuilt this for me. It was found in my in-laws' attic. Really, it had sat so long that all the parts were simply frozen in place or galded in place, whatever you want to call it. And it had to be disassembled completely and reassembled and lubricated. And now it's a little bit of a clumsy position to really type on it quickly here. But this is something we'll be using to practice some writing skills and some scenes and that sort of thing. It just makes a good prompt, and it has a nice mechanical sound to it. Now, I've also been a frequent journal writer most of my life. I actually have the first journal that I started. This was, notice, a big Star Trek fan, but this was started in 1977 on May 29th. And I was just looking this over, and I found a very interesting thing on the very first page, where, and you can tell I'm not your average journaler. The quote is, "The truth and reality of a self-conscious being are set and determined by that being. Therefore, every thinking creature, by its very nature, eventually determines what meaning its existence may have and how it will deal with the awesome reality of self-consciousness." So that was one of the first things I wrote in my first journal. We'll be musing about such things. I also have a memory of writing something in my journal warning me not to get famous, because then I would inevitably spread as much ignorance as enlightenment. Well, I succeeded in the first part of not becoming famous. Let's see if I can keep the implied second promise and restrain myself from spreading ignorance. Time is short, but the human adventure is just beginning. We'll see you next time, and thanks for stopping by.